Welcome to the Living Unoffended podcast with your host, Brant Hansen.
Hey there and welcome. My name is Brant Hansen. Welcome to you on this, I already said welcome, but once again, for a third time, I'd like to welcome you to Living Unoffended. Happy Monday, if it is indeed Monday when you're listening to this. If it's not, no worries. But I do like the idea of starting the week like this, like reminding ourselves, oh yeah, here's who I'm supposed to be. I want to be growing and becoming more like Jesus and walking this out and operating from a standpoint of forgiveness from the very start. I like that idea. So there's a guy named Marty Solomon, and he hosts a podcast, which I have liked for a long time, called the Bema Podcast, Bema. And he's got a book coming out. You can pre-order it now. It's called The Gospel of Being Human, How Asking Better Questions of the Bible Reveals Who We Are. And it's really good. I really appreciate him. And we had him on our podcast on the Brant and Sherry Oddcast for a longer form interview. But I clipped this out of it because I thought, well, I'll put this in the Living Unoffended podcast, where it's a very short discussion about loving enemies. Because I wanted his perspective on this. Like, am I seeing things clearly? And you know what I mean when I start this interview with him. But again, it's Marty Solomon, and I'll just pick it up in that interview. Here I go. I am astonished. I'm getting a lot of feedback from people that agree with me when I say I don't hear people talking about loving your enemies. I don't hear sermons about how to do it.
Yeah.
I just flummoxes. I do not understand why. And I wanted to get your perspective on that. Like, how did this go from being the defining characteristic, I think, of early Christians to we don't even really talk about how to do it? I mean, do you think am I seeing things clearly, or what do you think?
I think you're totally seeing things clearly. First and foremost, I would start by just affirming the impulse, because this is fundamental to the worldview of Jesus. Like, this is one of the most scandalous, repeated things he keeps trying to give us and teach his disciples. I can remember, and I promise I'll get back to your question, but I had a friend, a Jewish friend, who she's an ethnic Jew, born to Jewish parents in a Jewish family. She comes to follow Jesus while she's in college. So she becomes a Jewish follower of Jesus. And then she comes of age and she wants to go on her birthright tour. I don't know if people know birthright tour is anybody who has Jewish heritage. Essentially, there's a whole movement where Jews fund coming of age Jews to go to Israel to see their own family here, like see the history of the people. So she goes over, she wants to go over on a birthright tour. She gets accepted. Then the rabbi finds out she is a Christian. And he's like, wait, you can't come. And she's like, wait, I have to come. And so the rabbi says, okay, I will let you come on two conditions. Number one, you cannot evangelize. No proselytizing on this trip. Number two, at the end of the trip, you have to tell me what you see in your Jesus that I can't already show you in my Judaism.
Huh.
And she's like, okay. So she goes into her whole thing, gets done. Rabbi calls her in, says, thank you, first of all, for your part. Number one, did it. Nobody had any problems with you. Thank you. She says, you're welcome. He says, now, do you remember the second question? She said, yeah. He's like, what do you see in Jesus? And she said, the call to love my enemy.
Right.
And the rabbi, apparently, as she tells the story, just had a moment, pause, and then said, you're right. Good answer. Like, that is one of the more scandalous things we have in this gospel. And to get back to your question, I know exactly, because I can see it on both sides. On one side, and I think that's the problem, by the way. I just said I can see it on both sides.
And I knew what you're talking about, right?
We had a culture, yeah, and you obviously know, on one side, there's like a triumphant, we're the winners, we're the in, they're the out. There's a triumphant, they're going to bow the knee, a right-handed power. And they don't want to love your enemies because that's antithetical to the thing that they're building. But then there's the ideology that I probably lean more towards. And if I say love my enemies, I'm afraid of getting canceled because it gets misconstrued as, oh, so you support them?
Right. That's absurd, though. That's just. So I was just mentioning this because I was thinking about the number of voices that are political and Christian.
Yeah.
That demonstrate hatred
of their
Yeah.
enemy. Like, this guy's a moron. They'll say, like,
Yep.
or he's a like, if you're missing the love your enemy thing, I don't know what the Jesus thing means. I don't like.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I don't know why you would consider yourself a Christian if you don't love your enemies. And
Yeah.
you're right, though. Even if we talk about it, it's coded a
Yeah.
certain direction. It's like, what? This is ridiculous. That is just not discipleship. It's like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
preach about everything but that. I just can't. It doesn't compute. That's all. I just don't.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And it's not the gospel. And I somewhat appreciate, like, it's the same thing Jesus had when he preached it. On one hand, you had a bunch of oppressed Jews that were like, wait, you're not talking about the Romans. You're not talking about the Samaritans. You're not talking, and Jesus is like, yeah, that's actually exactly what I'm talking about. And if he said it to the Romans, they're like, no, 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 Pax Romana. Like, you don't build a kingdom of peace by loving your enemies. Like, you build it
Right.
on crushing your enemies and
Yeah.
winning.
Great. Yeah.
So he understood it all. He said, blessed are the peacemakers, because it really kind of sucks to sit in this place where we argue for loving our enemies, because no, you don't win. Like, both sides are like, no. But that's the scandalous message of the gospel that is as vibrant today, as poignant today as it ever has been, maybe even more in a lot of ways. But
Thanks for saying. I wanted your perspective on it. 'Cause I really,
yeah,
the idea that I have a niche podcast because it's about loving your enemies.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's weird.
Nothing will make you more yeah, unusual
Well, weird, man. That's
or
an interesting.
particular people when we talk about essential elements of the gospel.
Well,
It's
I
yeah.
mentioned when I was on, I can't remember if I told you, forgive me, but when I was on Focus on the Family
Uh-huh.
recently, and the guy would like, oh, it was after the Charlie Kirk thing. They had me.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mentioned to Jim Daly, who I really like this. I really like him.
Yeah.
And I mentioned we don't preach about loving our enemies, like how to do it. Here's how you should.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what? I've never heard a sermon about that.
Yeah.
Here's the guy at the epicenter of,
Yeah.
something, and
Yeah.
like, never.
Yeah.
United Faith Mortgage supports what we are doing here, and we are so thankful. They are a family business that's a direct lender. They can help with mortgages and refinances, including cash out refinances. And for every closed loan, United Faith Mortgage makes a donation to help heal kids in the name of Jesus through Cure International Children's Hospitals. United Faith Mortgage. If you want to find out more, including their story about being direct lenders, check out UnitedFaithMortgage.com.
United Mortgage Corp. NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender.
We definitely should. I can remember this whole thing's making me think of Brian McLaren. I don't know if that's a anathema name to quote on your podcast, but he wrote a book called The Great Spiritual Migration. And in it, kind of right in the middle of the book, he says, what's fascinating to me is we've been at this for 2,000 years. And of all the things we've created, nobody has created like a catechesis of just love. He's like, it seems to me like the fundamental thing we should be doing as churches and bodies of believers and fellowships is have a curriculum. Like, if we had a curriculum, it would be, how do I love myself, love my neighbor, love my friend and my family member, love my enemy,
Right.
and love creation. Why do we not have that? How has nobody created that? So there really is something to that.
Again, that was Marty Solomon. You can check him out on Amazon. The Gospel of Being Human is his newest book. But yeah, you know what I've started doing whenever I present the unoffendable material and we have time, I actually like how to do this, which is what we discuss here about. We've done it previous episodes, but like how to love your enemies, how to pray for them, because otherwise we're not going to apply this into our lives. Like, why would we not want to talk about that? And I would think that every church would make it a priority. Like, let's talk about this. Let's do it. Let's learn. Then we can get back together and talk about how it's going. How's the forgiveness thing going? How are we walking that out? How are we putting off anger and bitterness and all that stuff? It's so good to talk about it. And maybe you could lead that at your church or something. If you're in a group, maybe you lead that. You don't have to be an expert in it. None of us are except for Jesus. We're all disciples. We are all learning. So if you think you have to master this thing first, you don't. You don't. We just have to be willing to talk about it and then do it.
You've been listening to the Living Unoffended podcast with Brant Hansen. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And if you'd like more information on Brant Hansen, his book Unoffendable, and more, go to branthansen.com.